Today we have with us Commodore A.K Jolly, retired, who is presently serving as the chairman and managing director at Jute Corporation of India Limited, and he has served in the Indian Navy for the last 30 years before joining the JCIL. So, a very good morning to you, sir.
Very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much
Very,
for taking out time to interact with us.
very good morning. Happy to be
Just
here.
honored that you have taken out time to be with us, sir. So,
Thanks.
sir, the first question that I would like to ask you is, how do we build a skill like emotional intelligence in the current scenario of COVID-19?
Yes. It's a very important question, and to my mind, it's with education and awareness. A certain amount of emotional intelligence one carries from birth, and during the process of one's upbringing. But rest of it, like in organizations, we need to carry out interactive workshops and develop this ability to identify and reason with emotions. And these the workshops, etc., the interactive sessions, they stir up the thinking process and activates the prefrontal cortex, which leads to understanding and management of self. And the second means of strengthening your emotional muscle would be through meditation. I think there are various types, and I wouldn't want to go deep into any of the types. As a simple step, let us say mindfulness is one such example, such exercise for building one's emotional strength. Another example could be the transcendental meditation, which, as per the experts, it increases the global brain coherence. The various parts of the brain, they work together in good synchrony. And also now dealing with the problem at hand, COVID-19, reasoning, rationalizing, and consciously thinking, discussing about scientific explanations, focusing on precautions, and not dwelling in stress and fear. I think this will help in calming down an individual, build immunity. Otherwise, the bad effects of the stress, which one can have on one's psychology and physiology, that can be avoided. And I think a very interesting example, which I would like to quote, which is from Ratan Tata, wherein I was watching one of his interviews, and he quoted a very, very interesting example. He said, if people are throwing stones at you, or someone is throwing stones at you, I would like to just collect those stones and build a beautiful monument out of it. So here, it's not about someone throwing stones at you. It is, about dealing with adversity in a calm and constructive manner. So, as you know, the prolonged secretion of stress hormones have undesirable effect on mental and physical health. So, and then here I would like to add that ASCC is doing a commendable job in spreading awareness. And I'm one of the beneficiaries myself. And I've seen tremendous amount of effect on my own team through the one workshop that we did. And after that, we did some follow-up courses, and we did mindfulness course. So the effect of this is very, very evident, but we need to do some more work on this.
Right, sir. Sir, I think that you mentioned that it is actually about how you deal with adversity and a situation where you feel that you're in an adverse loop that makes the difference and help you understand the situation better. So, sir, what components of emotional intelligence would you suggest are to be practiced by leaders of organizations in the scenario that we are going through, like the pandemic?
Yes, I think you being a psychologist would know more about it, but I can speak from my experience. And as far as the emotional intelligence is concerned, I think EI as a whole is necessary to be developed. And but I think when you talk about the calamity like COVID, it's more about self-awareness, knowing one's own emotions, and managing one's own emotions, and realization about the games that our psychological processes play, and the fight and flight response whenever we come across our dangerous situation, which basically originates from our reptilian brain. So if we can be aware and self-aware, and we are able to watch our emotions, we are able to identify and name those emotions, and I think part of the problem is solved. And prefrontal cortex has the ability to reason and rationalize and calm down the emotional response, and thereby reduce the damage. Moreover, if we can reason and understand the remedy and safeguards, if we can actively, scientifically, which is again the job of the prefrontal cortex, if we are completely overtaken by the amygdala part, if we are, or the reptilian brain, then the stress hormones are secreted. So cause and effect, learn the reasons, the scientific reasons, remedy and safeguards, and that's how it helps. And I often quote the example of traffic to my organization employees. I just say that traffic itself is such a dangerous thing. If you're not trained in it, if you don't know the rules, it's very hazardous. If you come out of the house unprepared, someone who's not learned about the traffic all of a sudden comes out, it's really difficult for him to get back home uninjured. But once you understand, once you know the rules, once you know the remedies, once you know the precautions, then it's a known devil. It's always a known devil is better than an unknown angel, as they say. So, uh, emotional intelligence, the person with a strong emotional intelligence, his brain will not be hijacked by the reptilian response, and he'll be able to reason. So, to be specifically asking your question about components of emotional intelligence, it's about self-awareness and self-management, knowing one's emotions, and knowing the the remedies of the danger which comes in front of us. This will switch off this reptilian response, and we'll be assured we know what we need to do.
That's so well said, sir. So, it's absolutely right when we say that you should be aware of your emotions first. Then you will be able to manage them in a very nice way. Because until unless you're not aware of the traffic in your mind, it's very difficult. So, sir, as a leader, in this turbulent times, um, to keep himself, how difficult or how to keep himself motivated, and along with that his team as well. And because there has been a paradigm shift in the way the behaviors have changed. There's a lot of cognitive changes that we have observed, and the thoughts, right, the traffic that you were talking about right now. So how can the leader keep himself motivated in this situation, sir?
Yes, that's a very practical challenge that leaders face. And especially when we were faced with COVID initially, a leader has to think about himself and take care of himself, and then take care of the organization and his employees who might be a little less experienced and less equipped to deal with a situation. To my mind, a leader has no option but to equip himself with a high level of emotional intelligence. This is a prerequisite. It is ironic that reportedly we have a large number of toxic leaders in the India incorporated. I don't want to dwell too much into this, but I think there is a need for developing emotional intelligence in our country uh, through proper professional training. And to be able to support others, one has to develop emotionally himself. and one has to be emotionally strong oneself. And it really cannot all be done internally through internal in-house efforts. I believe a professional intervention from the experts is extremely important, because there is a limited bit that you can do internally. And if you really want to make a difference, one has to organize outsourced interactive training sessions, which we have done. We have organized workshops. And after COVID also, before COVID, we made a beginning. Fortunately, we had done it before COVID, so people were to some extent prepared. And then we followed them up through the online interactions and workshops. So basically, it's about converting the unknown evil into a known devil through our own emotional intelligence. And leader's role, to be specific about your answer, is that that the leader's role is first to motivate himself, build his own emotional capacity, and then get his team along on this path of building emotional intelligence, guard against rumors, pay heed to genuine scientific information, and sensitize the employees and keep them engaged. Because as we know, the empty mind is the devil's workshop. So this is pretty much what we also did. And we were successful to a large extent.
Right. So what you said makes complete sense, that to facilitate all these points that you mentioned, that at times you need an outside intervention, so that it can be better facilitated and people can work with their self-awareness and aspects of emotional intelligence in a more directed manner. So, sir, what measures would you say that in terms of facilitating this self-awareness and mindfulness in employees will have to be taken so that a person can adapt to the ongoing changes?
So I think, again, it's about training. Uh, uh, Training the intervention, training in emotional intelligence from the experts, and a culture of reasoning and discussion, so that people can share, and people can people can stay away from a lot of allegations. You must be aware that this kind of culture also exists in some of the organizations, where people indulge in uh, personality clashes, allegations, counter allegations. So I often give this example of Ratan Tata when it comes to vengeance and vendetta. Uh, Again, another example from Ratan Tata. He was one of our tall leaders that we've had. And at one point of time, they were about to sell Tata Motors to Ford, a company of UK. And in one of the meetings during the negotiations, the Ford people, they said that we are doing a favor to you that we are buying Tata Motors. Mr. Ratan Tata felt quite offended, and he decided that I will not sell my company. And later on, as it happened, after a few years, Ford company became bankrupt, and there was an opportunity to buy Land Rover, this thing, JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, and Ratan Tata bought JLR from Ford company. So in this duration, Tata had grown substantially. So this shows that the biggest vengeance, the biggest revenge is the success itself, without having to hurt anyone else, looking uh, at oneself and developing oneself. So instead of going out to uh, hurt others, leveling allegations against others, the success, if you want to really inflict revenge on someone, it is through lifting yourself rather than putting the other guy down. Similarly, for competition also, I think the same rule applies. The healthy competition is in lifting oneself up. So these are the things, I think that these are the inspirational examples, apart from training in emotional intelligence. These are the examples which make people realize that it is our own internal strength which helps. I also have great faith in resilience of Indians, the civilization resilience that we have, which stems from the Vedic culture, which is about karma cycle, wherein death is not considered to be a terminal phenomenon in India. So this galvanizes us from the fear of death. So certain amount of stress, which is the product of our reptilian brain, which is about death, is to some extent reduced. Though you are a psychologist, you would understand that whenever you are faced with a dangerous situation like that, you will definitely, the reptilian will work. But a situation which is not really so dangerous, it seems dangerous, but there are scientific methods of dealing with that, like COVID-19. There are scientific methods of precautions to be taken, and it can be easily uh, followed. Then we should not be held hostage to the reptilian response. Also, enthusing the employees about our organization, the progress and development of our country, and invoking trust and faith in them that as the dust settles, we will be in a better position. As the situation settles down once again, we'll be able to, and in fact, utilizing this time, when you're getting some more time, you're saving the traffic hours, you're saving the transit time every day, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, etc. You can utilize this time for online courses, self-development. And it happened in our company, it happened. A lot of people got enthused. We tried to encourage them. They enrolled for online courses. Besides, the optimal task allocation working from home is very important, because we were not used to this. We were not used to working from home. And sensitizing people about the dangers of idle and lethargic mind. So besides this, the skills of working from home is also something which not every company, and especially those in public domain, the employees will not be quite used to them. So I think in a nutshell, these are the answers to the question.
So that's absolutely right when you actually are saying that resilience is something which is need to be practiced, and then it has to be developed, because in the times of uncertainty, that is what actually keeps us going, and then we are at least optimistic in that part of it. So sir, when it is coming to the employees, right, is it going to be challenging to the people in general and to the employees to feel engaged and motivated, because the world is slowly shifting from work at office scenario to the work from home scenario? So what do you suggest to people, working from home to practice in their daily life?
Yes, yes. It's a problem of engagement, because the work scenario has changed. People are able to stay at home, and they feel they would naturally feel a bit disengaged, because they are away from work environment. The atmosphere has changed, and they will tend to be losing their daily routine, feeling lethargic, and uh, so it's a problem of engagement. And we realized this in the very beginning. And to some extent, inspirational examples help in increasing engagement. And I often use the beautiful thing which was said by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And he was speaking to a police academy, and this remains with me all the time. And he was saying that if we connect to a greater cause, or if we connect to a greater organization, and we completely involve with it, so this is like riding an omnibus. It takes you places. It lifts you up. If our energies are hooked on, to a greater cause, it picks you up and it energizes you. And in his words, he said that God himself helps you. I think that's something which people respond, because this is an example quoted by the great man himself, and he's very well regarded. And the other thing is that about working from home, the second part of the question is again, it's a change. But it seems like a good thing to me overall. Though if you see in PSUs, people don't really respond very positively about it. But I think one gets more time and one gets a more relaxed atmosphere as one wants at home. So it saves time. And but the problem is that the physical file-based functioning that we are used to, these are the disadvantages of an organization like mine. Then job assignment and monitoring requires some changes. The style of functioning requires some changes. And to some extent, we adapted to it. But I don't think we ensured that everybody was optimally tasked. Because so even now, some people are 50% of the workforce is working from home. So somehow the level of performance is all right, being maintained. But I wish that we could arrive at a very optimal manner in which people at home, they are tasked, they are equally tasked. They have some challenge for the day. So we need a good performance management system which takes care of this specific situation of working from home. Our managers are a little habituated to planning and assigning, monitoring work from home. And we seem to like the look and feel of personal meeting, wherein it helps also to some extent, where the ambience of office or the clout of the high table, so to say, when you enter somebody's office, it has its own impact on the subordinates. So this is, the sort of areas and empires are chalked out. So it probably, but I think those times are going, and millennials are better at working from home. They don't need to be, have to be pressurized. They need to be motivated, they need to be inspired, and they are in a better position to adapt to this work from home kind of environment. The physical distance also, I think, in an online scenario, a physical distance also brings in some objectivity and reduction of emotions. And as we said, travel time, traffic hassles are saved. Also, I think it also avoids speaking over each other. Sometimes, we argumentative Indians, we don't have this art of listening and understanding people's view. In the online mode, we will wait for our turn and allow the other person to finish his thoughts. So, but the bottom line is, I think it needs monitoring and discipline. So I think that's what I can think of right now about working from home.
Right, sir. So when you say that, that things have changed and, we require more monitoring and discipline when it comes to interacting through a small screen as compared to interacting face to face. So things certainly have changed. Sir, is there any model that you can think of where we are talking about emotional intelligence being introduced using AI, that is artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it's a very interesting and novel idea. I think it's a great idea. And there is certainly a few interesting and few beneficial devices and softwares which aid your functioning, I think can be done. And something like an AI bot, for example, an alter ego of yourself, a friend, a philosopher and guide that keeps one away from stressed reaction. And it sort of, it's otherwise a replica of your personality, but whenever it comes to an emotional response wherein you are vulnerable, it is able to step back and remind you. And you are able to, it is able to sort of uh, uh, point to the emotion consciously, and you become conscious of that. You are able to look at it objectively, and it in this manner it aids in thinking consciously. So, concept of a programmable self beyond self. It's like a programmable bot. Uh, and maybe it has one's storyline, one's life, and one's narrative of personality, and then through artificial intelligence, it has the ability to step back from the emotional. So it's just a very vague idea. And the another idea could be about virtual or augmented reality, wherever you are interacting online with your staff, with your team. Maybe one's representative body in 3D is available in a virtual reality environment or augmented reality kind of environment. I got this idea from one of my nephews. He's working in New York, and he's working on virtual reality and augmented reality environments, because people are missing this thing, interaction on a small screen of a mobile phone or a laptop. They are missing some people of interacting actually physically with a person. So probably augmented reality. I'm no expert in this, but it seems that technology is going in that direction.
That's so right, sir. So this is a very good idea of having an alter ego programmable bot, which is beyond self. And yes, virtual augmented reality, people meeting in 3D. So VR is something which is quite, coming into action now. But yes, it will take a lot of time, maybe, for this. But the human essence will be something which we really need to think of. So the next question is, sir, when we are talking about humans, right, there is a lot of stress right now. So how to manage stress in these turbulent times, and whether some uncertainty and fear that people had in their mind and still they have it, right? So how to manage their stress in a few words?
Yes, I think my answer is somewhat repetitive on this, because it's about converting the unknown devil to a known evil. I mean, known devil, so that we don't have this fear of the unknown. We can't get rid of him. We can't remove COVID from the scene, but we know to a large extent how to avoid it, how to avoid the dangers of this. So, I think the people who are emotionally strong, who have this EI developed, they are the people who are able to, get away from the emotional response and reason, understand the reason, and accept the reason. Uncertainty will be gone if you know the nature of the beast, if you know what it is and how to avoid it. If you have a well in your neighborhood, and if you are a blind person, you don't know where to go, then you will be stressed that there is a well in the neighborhood, I should not fall into it. But if you have this, your eyes are open with the light of knowledge and light of understanding, then you're not worried. You can easily avoid that well. So, but it cannot be done without building a muscle of emotional intelligence, and lack of EI doesn't allow one to think rationally. One gets into the trap of the reptilian brain. And so observing the emotions objectively, and identifying the emotions, thinking logically about solutions, and cause and effect. What is causing? And having faith in cause and effect. That these are the reasons. These are the having faith, developing a scientific temperament, having a faith in what scientists have done. Maybe in the beginning there were some goofed up things which the scientific world has done, but after a period of time, gradually there was a consensus. There is a consensus now also how to easily avoid COVID, and we are living it now. We are able to easily avoid it. So I think that's my response on this.
Thank you so much, sir. So it was quite insightful. And I would like to end this interaction with, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev's quote that you have quoted in your research paper in Emotional Intelligence Compendium. that emotions are juices of life. The human life without background emotions would be dry, inert, and lacking in inspiration. And we all have huge reservoirs of emotional energy. What matters is the harnessing and regulating the energy for a positive way. Thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much for
Yes.
your time, sir. It
Thank
has
you,
Thank you,
been an
ma'am.
sir.
Thank
honor
you.
talking to you, sir.
Pleasure is completely mine. It's great. It's been a wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
sir.
much, sir.